Have you ever walked into a place where they judged you before you even said a word? Ava Carter had. She walked into Vive Boutique, one of the most expensive stores in London. She wore a plain black dress and simple sandals, her hair tied in a bun, no jewelry. The woman behind the counter, Victoria Hale, looked up with a tight smile that said, "You don't belong here." Beside her, the younger assistant Chloe gave a nervous glance. Ava's eyes scanned the racks filled with designer clothes she had personally approved months ago, but no one in that room knew she was the owner. Victoria crossed her arms and said in a cold tone, "Can I help you? Our prices might be a bit high for your taste." Ava smiled softly. "I just wanted to look around." Victoria stepped in front of her. "Maybe try the outlet store down the road. This one's not for window shoppers." Chloe looked away, embarrassed. Ava nodded silently and turned to a mirror, pretending to admire a dress. Victoria muttered under her breath, "Some people think money grows on trees." But Ava didn't react. She'd seen this before, the quick judgment, the arrogance, the hidden racism behind polite smiles. What Victoria didn't know was that her boss, the woman who signed her paycheck, was standing right in front of her. Ava took a slow breath and said softly, "I'll take that red dress." Victoria laughed. "That's £1,200. Ava pulled out her card, but Victoria didn't move. "Sorry, we don't take certain cards here," she said with a smirk. Chloe's eyes widened. Ava's heart sank, not from shame, but disappointment. She looked around her store and thought, maybe it's time to remind them who's really in charge. She placed her card down calmly. "You'll want to process that. I think you'll regret it if you don't." Victoria rolled her eyes and walked away, whispering, "These people always think they're someone." Ava smiled faintly, "Not someone, the owner." If you've ever been judged for how you look, comment below. And don't forget to subscribe for part 2 of Ava's story. Victoria Hale took the card from the counter, still smirking as if she was humoring a child playing pretend. She tapped it against the reader and froze when the screen flashed approved. Her smile faded for a split second, but she quickly forced it back on, pretending not to care. "Lucky swipe," she muttered, sliding the dress into a bag like it was an insult. Ava Carter stood silently, watching the woman who just mocked her handle her own merchandise like it was above her reach. The boutique was quiet, except for the soft hum of music and the faint tapping of Victoria's heels. Chloe Adams shifted uncomfortably near the fitting rooms, pretending to organize clothes. She couldn't take her eyes off Ava. There was something about her calm that didn't match the situation. Most people would have snapped back, shouted, or walked out in anger. But Ava, she stood there with the kind of grace that made the air feel heavy, like a storm was about to break. Victoria handed the bag across the counter without looking up. "Enjoy your dress," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Ava took it gently, her eyes locking on Victoria's. "I will," she said softly, "and I'll enjoy reviewing your customer service later." Victoria raised a brow. "Reviewing? Oh please, we don't take feedback from random shoppers." Ava smiled again. "Good thing I'm not a random shopper." Victoria frowned, confused, but Ava turned and walked toward the back of the boutique, past the velvet curtain that said staff only. "Hey, you can't go back there," Victoria shouted, her voice echoing across the showroom. Chloe gasped as Ava pushed through the curtain, her steps slow and steady. Seconds later, the door to the manager's office clicked open. Victoria hurried after her, furious, her voice rising. "Excuse me, you can't just..." She stopped dead. Inside, Ava was sitting comfortably in the leather chair behind the glass desk, the one only the regional owner used during visits. She looked up at Victoria calmly. "You were saying..." The color drained from Victoria's face. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Chloe peeked from behind the curtain, eyes wide. "Miss Carter," she whispered, realizing who Ava truly was. Ava nodded kindly. "Yes, Chloe, I'm here for the quarterly inspection." Victoria stumbled back, her hands trembling. I didn't know." Ava raised her hands slightly. "You didn't ask, you assumed." The silence that followed was louder than shouting. Ava stood, her voice firm but controlled. "You looked at me and decided my worth in seconds. You embarrassed me in my own store. Tell me, Victoria, how many customers have you treated like that?" Victoria's eyes filled with panic. "Please, Miss Carter, I didn't mean," Ava cut her off. "You did. And now you'll learn what it feels like when judgment costs something real." Chloe swallowed hard, her voice shaking. "Miss Carter, should I call the staff meeting?" Ava turned to her, softening her tone. "Yes, Chloe. It's time everyone learns who they really work for." Chloe nodded quickly and left. Victoria stood frozen, tears forming, her arrogance fading into fear. Ava looked out the glass window at the showroom she'd built from nothing, the store meant to represent elegance and equality. "This place was supposed to be for everyone," she whispered, "and you turned it into a mirror of your prejudice." She turned back to Victoria. "Let's fix that starting now. If you believe no one should be judged by how they look, comment, respect all below, and subscribe for Chapter 3, where Ava's truth changes everything." The boutique fell silent as Chloe Adams called the staff to gather in the front room, her voice trembling with both fear and awe. Ava Carter stood tall behind the glass door, her reflection merging with the golden light spilling across the marble floor. Every worker in the boutique, cashiers, assistants, stylists, rushed in, whispering as they saw the woman they had once mistaken for a customer now standing with quiet authority. Victoria Hale followed behind, pale and shaking, her arrogance replaced with shame. Ava walked out from the office, her tone calm but powerful. "Good afternoon, everyone," she began, her voice steady like a calm sea hiding a storm. "I came here today dressed simply, without a driver, without my usual team, because I wanted to see how my staff treats ordinary customers." She looked directly at Victoria, who lowered her eyes to the floor. "And I saw something I wish I hadn't." The staff glanced at each other nervously. Chloe stood near the corner, clutching her clipboard, her eyes filled with quiet respect for Ava. "This boutique was built on grace and equality," Ava continued. "When I started this brand, I wanted every person, rich or poor, famous or unknown, to feel respected the moment they walked in. But today I was reminded that elegance means nothing without kindness." Victoria opened her mouth to speak, but her voice cracked. "Miss Carter, I'm so sorry, I thought," Ava stopped her gently. "You thought I wasn't worth your time because of how I looked." Her words cut through the air like glass. "That's the problem, Victoria. You judged me not by my actions or my manners, but by my skin and my clothes." Chloe stepped forward hesitantly. "Miss Carter, I wanted to say something earlier, but I was scared." Ava turned to her with warmth. "You don't need to be scared anymore, Chloe. It takes courage to stand against wrong, even when you're quiet. You did nothing wrong." Then Ava looked at the rest of the team. "I expect everyone here to remember this moment. Our boutique isn't just about fashion, it's about respect. If a woman walks in wearing torn clothes, you still treat her like royalty, because you never know who she really is or what she's fighting through." The staff nodded, some ashamed, some emotional. Victoria wiped her tears, her voice trembling. "Please, Miss Carter, don't fire me. I have a daughter in school. I'll change, I swear." Ava sighed, her expression soft but firm. "Victoria, I believe in second chances, but only if you mean them." She took a step closer, her tone turning heavy. "You'll take diversity and customer training every week, and you'll start by writing a public apology to every customer you've mistreated. You'll rebuild your reputation one act of kindness at a time. Do that, and you'll stay." Victoria nodded rapidly, tears falling freely now. Chloe exhaled deeply, the tension in the room easing as Ava's compassion replaced her authority. Ava turned back to the crowd, her calm presence returning. "The true test of character isn't how you treat the powerful, it's how you treat those you think are powerless." She gave one final look at Victoria, then smiled faintly. "Now let's get back to doing what we do best, making people feel beautiful." The staff clapped softly, moved by her words. Chloe whispered under her breath, "She's the kind of boss the world needs." Ava heard her and smiled. "If you believe kindness should always come before judgment, comment, kindness wins, and subscribe for Chapter 4, the powerful ending of Ava's story." The store fell silent as Ava Carter stood tall in front of Victoria Hale, whose face had gone pale like marble, when Ava calmly took out a sleek black card with the boutique's golden logo embossed on it, and said softly, "You see, Victoria, I don't need to be a certain type to belong here. Because I own this entire boutique chain. Victoria's eyes widened in disbelief, her mouth opening and closing without a sound as Chloe Adams gasped, covering her lips. In shock, the shoppers who had once stared at Ava with judgment were now frozen as realization hit them that the woman they had mocked was the very person who paid their salaries. Ava's voice was calm, but carried the weight of justice. I came here today not to embarrass you, but to see how you treat people when you think they have nothing, and you failed. Victoria completely. Chloe stepped forward, her eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry, Miss Carter. I wanted to say something, but I was afraid. Ava smiled kindly. Fear is powerful, Chloe, but courage defines us. And you showed kindness even when others didn't. Victoria stumbled, trying to speak. Miss Carter, please. I didn't mean. Ava cut her off with quiet authority. Respect should never depend on who someone is or what they wear. Victoria, it should be a part of who you are always. Victoria lowered her head as the crowd whispered, some even recording the moment on their phones. Ava turned to the assistant and said, Chloe, from tomorrow, you'll be the new store manager. I believe this place needs someone who treats people right. Chloe's eyes widened with gratitude and tears. Thank you, Miss Carter. I won't let you down. Ava nodded warmly and walked toward the exit, her simple clothes fluttering slightly as the automatic doors opened behind her, the sunlight spilling over her like a halo. Victoria stood trembling, realizing she had just destroyed her own career, while Ava had risen higher by staying true to her values. Outside, Ava looked back one last time and said, remember, the true luxury is kindness, not the price tag. The shoppers applauded softly as she left, leaving behind a silence filled with regret and awe. The story of that day spread across the city, how a humble woman revealed the truth about arrogance and respect in the most elegant way possible. If you believe everyone deserves respect, no matter how they look, drop a comment below with the word respect. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this.